Okay, we begin today a new Sikha. This Sikha is actually also in Chelik Zayin. We learned, Baruch Hashem, the first Sikha of B'chukay Zayin Chelik Zayin. And this is the second one, yeah. This is also a Sikha regarding Geula, Moshiach, as we'll see. And with Hashem's help, we're going to learn the Sikha and the Ha'aris. Oh, that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure that we'll be Zeicha to see Mashiach. We'll try to learn the Sikha with the Ha'aris on the Ha'aris as much as possible. That's when you get the full richness and the full breadth of the Sikha. Okay, so let's begin. The pasuk in Parshas B'chokaisai, in the bracha where it says, Hashem says, and I will lead you to go kaimimios, which means upright. Okay, so now what does the pasuk mean by kaimimios? Zok the Gemara, so the Gemara says in Baba Basra and in Sanhedrin. There's a machlokes. Rab Meir says kaimimios means Masaya Mama, that every person will be tall 200 amas, kishtei kaimais shel Adam Erishin, twice the height of Adam Erishin. Adam Erishin was 100 amas tall, and everyone's going to be twice the height of Adam Erishin, which is kaimimios. Yeah. Okay, now where do we see that Adam Erishin was 100 amas tall? Because the Gemara in Chagiga says that Adam Erishin, after Chet Eitzadas, was 100 amas tall. Before Chet Eitzadas, he was actually much taller. But after Chet Eitzadas, he was only 100 amas tall. So when Mashiach comes, we will all be twice the height of Adam Erishin. Rabbi Yehuda, however, Rabbi Yehuda says, Meya Amma, that every Yid will be only 100 amas tall. Keneged Heichal Uksalov, and the height of 100 amas is the same height as the Heichal and the walls of the Heichal. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, Asher Banenu, or Banenu rather. Again, Asher Banenu Kenetiyim Ugudolim Benu Ureyim. Our children are like saplings that are growing up in their youth. B'neseinu Kazaviyos, and our daughters are in the corners. Mechutavais, they're carved out. Tabnes Heichal, like the structure of the Heichal. So we see that the pasuk is comparing that our sons and daughters are like the Heichal, so which is like the size of the walls of the Heichal. That's 100 amas. So therefore, Lasad Lava Yidden will be 100 amas tall. Okay, now the Gemara, the Rebbe will explain Pshat in this Gemara. So the fruits and everything in Eretz Yisrael is going to be like the size by the Menaglim. So it's going to be proportionate. Everything's going to be proportionate. Eretz Yisrael is going to expand. The fruits will expand. Everything will be on a whole different level.
The ceiling is that tall.
Okay, look, meanwhile, we're learning what the Rebbe says here in Gemara in the literal sense. And Ein Mikra Yetzim Midei Pshutai. But as we'll see, of course, all of this has significance. Ruchniist. Okay, now, but before we see the continuation of the Sikha, there's an interesting Ha'ara 3. What it says here in the Gemara about this, so there's a question on this, Mi Baba Basra Nun Ches Aleph. What does it say then in the Gemara Baba Basra? The Gemara there speaks about Maras HaMachpelah. And the Gemara there says a story about one of the Amiraim that went inside Maras HaMachpelah for the purpose to know exactly where Adam Arishan and Chava and Avram and Sarah and so on are buried in order to make the siman outside where the Kainim should not go. So then when he came, again?
You can't go by Adam Chava?
Can't go by?
Adam Chava
No.
or by all of them?
By all of them, apparently. Yeah. So what happened? The Gemara there says the story that when he came in on the outside, he couldn't make it all the way in to Adam and Chava. He only came in, I think, by Avram and Sarah, but he didn't make it all the way inside. And the Gemara says that he said, I need to go to see the size of the caves to know exactly the shear and to make a siman. And the Gemara says it's not necessary because if you measure the outside caves, then the inside caves where Adam and Chava are buried is the same size. So it's not necessary to go any further in. So what's the Rebbe's question? How could you compare? Adam Arishain was 100 amas tall, and Avram and Sarah were not that tall. So how could you say that the cave of Adam Arishan, which was in the inside cave, is the same as the outside cave? So you should have been allowed in to see there were. So how could the Gemara compare? That's one shaila. The Rebbe doesn't answer. This is all of the tzarchian. Well, another thing which is Tzarachian, there's a wondrous thing that it says in the end of Masechta Seifrim. Avraham Avinu, Shaya Gavoya Kaimasai, Keneged Shivim V'arba Anoshim. The height of Avdam Arishain was the height of 74, the height of 74 people. Okay, so what's the average height of a person? The Gemara says regarding Shiur of a mikveh that the height of a person is 3 amas.
Yeah.
Yep, 3 amas, which is about whatever. And it's actually machlokes. Taisa speaks about whether that 3 amas includes the head or maybe does not include the head. Well, let's say 3 amas. No, so 3 times what was it over here? 3 times 74 is going to be. Whoops, sorry, I got the wrong thing there. No, how much is it? 3 times. I got it wrong here.
223.
74. Oh, yeah. It's not working on my phone today. Sorry. 3 times 74 is 222. One off. Okay. 222 amas.
So 300 feet tall.
Or even more. Yeah. So according to this, it actually comes out that Avraham Avinu was even taller than Adam Rishon. Either way, according to what it says in Masechta Seifrim, you can't say that that the cave where Avraham is buried and the cave where Adam Rishon is buried is the same size. So what's the story? How does the Gemara say that it's the same? The Rebbe doesn't answer, and the Rebbe just says v'tzarich chipus b'svarim. So look in Svarim to see if anybody speaks about this. Okay.
So answer why they have all these dinosaurs, all these great big animals.
Of the way it was proportionally in those times.
To the people.
People were bigger, the animals were bigger, everything was bigger. Okay, Echshia, very interesting order. That the Rebbe remains with a Tzarachian. No, that's not very common.
If the Rebbe didn't find it, how are we going to find it?
Tzarech Hippus B'Svarim. Well, today you have Google, Tzarech Chachma, and different things that actually it might be possible to see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now the Rebbe, let's go back into the Sikha. The Rebbe will now explain the Pshat in the Gemara, simple Pshat in the Gemara here. Okay, so now when you learn this Gemara, it's interesting. The Gemara starts off with the pasuk V'oilech eschem koimimios, and it brings the 2 opinions. Rabbi Meir teaches koimimios corresponding to twice the height of Adam Rishon. Rabbi Yehuda is comparing to the Heichal and the walls of the Heichal. What's going on here? How do you learn simple Pshat of this Gemara? Learning the Gemara in Pashtus Kumtais. The simple Pshat of the Gemara is as follows: as the Makir from Rabbi Meirin to learn in Masayim Amma Kishtei Kaimis Cholo, the source of Rabbi Meir that he says that Kaimimius means that will be Lasadlavi as tall as 200 Amas is from the word Kaimimius. He's learning it from the word Kaimimius itself. Was is mit avav, since it's written with avav, aloshen rabim, that makes it plural. So when it says upright, and it means upright like the height of Adam Rishon, as the Rebbe will quote later in the Sikha, in one of the footnotes, or actually also inside the Sikha, that how do we know as the height of Adam Rishon? Because Adam Rishon is the ultimate and perfect height of what a human being was originally intended to be when he was created. Adam Rishon. So it's the Mashal says that for that we don't even need a pasuk or a sva. It's a svara.
50 amas wouldn't be enough.
Everything is relative. Enough is a very, very relative word. So if it says that we're going to be upright in what measure, according to whose standard? According to the standard of Adam Rishon, the first human being that was 100 amas. Okay, so now how do we know that it's double of Adam Rishon? Because it says Lashon Rabim, Kaimimius with a vav. Or the Rebbe in the Hara brings that the Rashbam actually says that it's being darshan because it says 2 mems. Kaima means upright. It says kaim mem mios, the double mem is what tells us that it'll be twice the height of Adam Rishon. That's the drasha of Reb Meir. There's something that I don't understand about this though. I didn't see the Rebbe addressing it. I didn't see the whole Sikha until the end, but this that Adam Rishon was 100 amas tall was after Chet Eitzadas. Why wouldn't we say that Blessed Lavi will be upright like Adam Rishon before Chet Eitzadas? Which is, I think, it says Manik and Chama B'Kaimasi. He was as tall all the way up to the sun, or so I'm not sure why Dafke his height after Chet Eitzadas. Okay, that's Rab Meir's opinion. Albert the Makkah from Rabbi Yehuda. So learn in Meyam, what's Rabbi Yehuda's source? That will be as tall as 100 amas like Adam Rishon is nit the word Kaimimius. It's not the word Kaimimius. Weil Adarabah. Der Lashon weist gar kanal of zwei kaimis. The word kaimimius itself would say that we would be twice the height of Adam Rishon. No, that pasuk asher b'nei goyim mit tavnes heichel. He's learning it from this that it says that our sons and daughters are going to be like the structure of the heichel. Mitzadem, that's the proof though. And here's the chiddush of the way the Rebbe learns simple pshat in the Gemara. It's from that pasuk of comparing to the tavnes heichel that we now understand. Lerenter as kaimimios men blois en kaimish al Adam Rishon. That when it says kaimimios, it means once like the height of Adam Rishon. It says with a vav, which is a plural term.
Yeah.
But since in another pasuk it compares our height to the structure of the heichel, so we're forced to say that over here it's ki'ilu v'yazvald gestanen kaimemis anavav. It's as if it's written singular without that vav. Now, so what's really the point that Rebbe is trying to say here? Don't think the pshat in the Gemara is that Rabbi Yehuda disagrees completely to this whole pshat of kaimimius. That kaimimius has nothing to do with the height of Adam Rishon. There's no source from there that our height will change at all. The entire source of what our height will be, lost lava, is from another pasuk which compares to the structure of the heichel. So the Rebbe says that's not the pshat. Rabbi Yehuda also learns out from kaimimius of how tall we're going to be. Elamai, how does he know that kaimimius only means once the height like Adam Rishon and you have to read it without a vav? Because in another place you find the pasuk of Tavnes Heichel that proves that over here it means only once like Adam Rishon. So Side of Meir, Side of Yehuda are comparing to Adam Rishon. The machlokes is whether twice the height of Adam Rishon or once like the height of Adam Rishon. That's the pshat in the Gemara. Okay. Now, when you look into the words of the Gemara, it says Rabbi Yehuda Meya Ama Keneged Heichel Uksalov. The Gemara starts off saying that it's 100 amas, and it's corresponding to the height of the heichel and the walls of the heichel. So why is the Gemara starting off with that? If the emes is that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's corresponding to the height of Adam Rishon. So why is the Gemara saying corresponding to the heichel and the walls of the heichel? So the Gemara explains. Far the raya shenemar, before the Gemara brings the proof of the pasuk where it compares to the structure of the heichel, is Rabbi Yehuda maktim keneged heichel uksalov, that it's like the heichel and the walls of the heichel. What's he clarifying by this? It's not really coming to say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, this is the source of our height lost lava. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, the height of 100 amas lost lava corresponds to Adam Rishon. But the fact that he starts off keneged heichel uksalov is coming to clarify a side point. And that is, val the heichel alein on the ksalim, if you look at the heichel itself, now here inside the Sikhe, that I was talking about one pshat of Rashi. And according to the first pshat in Rashi, we're talking about the heichel, first base of Mikdash. How tall was the heichel in the first base of Mikdash? 30 amas high. So where do we get to 100 amas? Only 30 amas high. So why is it saying that it's 100 amas? The answer is uksalov. While the heichel allein hat gehalten weniger wie mei ama. The heichel itself, without the walls, whether the height or whether the whole entire wall that went around and around the Mishkan was less than 100 amas. Therefore, he first clarifies that we're going to bring a pasuk, but the way to understand that pasuk is it's corresponding to heichel and its walls. As the pirish from Tavnes Heichel, that the way to understand the pasuk when it says Tavnes Heichel is klolus heichel, the whole heichel, der heichel mit seine ksalim was zusammen is es gewen mei ama. And Rashi there makes the whole cheshbon exactly that there was 60 amas, and then there was, I think, 6 amas or maybe 8 amas on Mizrach and 8 amas on Ma'ariv, and then there was additional amas for the ulam that was in front of the heichel. Then there was additional amas.
Like this one?
Yeah, the width. No, we're not talking about the height.
Yeah.
That's the whole point there.
Circumference.
According to, I don't know if it's mamish the circumference, because I don't think it includes the length of the length of Darim and the length of Tzafim. We only include the length of Darim one time, so it's like the Mizrach, Ma'ariv, and let's say Tzafim. And it also includes the Ulam, and there were certain chambers, Ta'im, that were in the back of the base of Mikdash. Hashem makes the cheshbon how it comes out to be 100. But it's not the height. It's not the height. It's referring to the wall, a portion of the wall in its width and length. That's what it's referring to. Referring to the Ulam, Kodesh Kodashim, and the Ta'im that were behind as well. That's what 100 is. And this is all if we understand the pasuk that it's referring to the first base of Mikdash. Okay, so therefore Rashi has to clarify, the Gemara that is. Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying, before he brings the pasuk that the accurate understanding of the pasuk is that it doesn't refer just to the heichal, but it refers to the heichal and the walls of the heichal, and therefore you come to the number of 100. This is given meya ama. Now this is one pshat in Rashi. There's another pshat in Rashi though that when it says in the pasuk tavnis heichal, it refers to the second base of mikdash. Then the pshat is like you probably were thinking originally that it refers to the height of the wall, because the second base of mikdash, the height of the heichal, together with the second floor that was above, was 100 amas. So according to that pshat, it's simple. It just refers to the second base of mikdash. Okay, but the reason why in the first pshat Rashi doesn't say that is because this is a pasuk in Tilim. David HaMelech is saying this. David HaMelech is saying that our sons and daughters are like Tavnis Heichal. That's referring to the times of David HaMelech, when the first base of Mikdash is going to be built, not the second base of Mikdash. Okay, that's the pshat over here in this Gemara. Okay, the Rebbe has a couple of questions on this, but let's see the other 5. Now here the Rebbe will explain why would you not want to learn the Gemara differently. Aval ein loimar. We can't say the pshat in the Gemara is as follows. Shel Rabbi Yehuda ein hakosav v'oilach esem kaimimiyos mendaber b'negeh shira goyve delasit. That Rabbi Yehuda argues completely in Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says that from this pasuk we learn how tall we're going to be lasid love. Twice the height of Adam Risha and 200 amas. And Rabbi Yehuda is saying no. From this pasuk we can learn nothing about the height of Adam Risha. Our height similar to Adam Risha. Pirish kamimiyas, according to Rabbi Yehuda, what does the word kamimiyas, which means upright, means? So b'kaim as a kufa. All it means is in the simple literal taich that we're going to walk with upright, proud as Yidden. That's our heads up in the air. Kibatargim Yenison ben Azil or Pirish Rashi. That's how the Targim Yenison taiches, and that's how Rashi taiches in Chumash or any other similar pshat. Okay, so now therefore Rabbi Yehuda says, if you want to talk about our height, lost in Lavoi, there's a different source from a pasuk in Tilim, Tavnis Heichal. But as far as this pasuk is concerned, our height is not to be learned from and is not compared at all to the height of Adam Rishon. That's maybe the pshat in the Gemara. So that's not what the Rebbe said inside the Sikha, right? Inside the Sikha, the Rebbe said no. Pshat in the Gemara is even Rabbi Yehuda holds we're learning out from Adam Rishon. Elamai, how does he know to take this pasuk out of the pshat of a plural term? It's the other pasuk of Tavnis Heichal that proves that this pasuk is not to be taken in the plural sense, but only once, like Adam Rishon. So how does the Rebbe know to learn this way? So the Rebbe gives 3 reasons. Key, number 1, you can't learn that he's arguing completely on Rabbi Yehuda. Aleph number 1, that pasuk that says that our children are going to be like the structure of the Heichal Atzma, that pasuk itself, loy yeshna heichacha lemei ama. There's no proof to this height of 100 amas. If it was just that pasuk, how do we come to the conclusion that it's 100 amas? Sharei efsher shekavanas hakasav v'legoiva heichal harishin. Maybe it refers to the height of the Heichal in the first base of Mikdash, which, as I mentioned, is only 30 amas. How do we know to say that it's the Heichal and the walls of the Heichal as well? Why are we saying it this way? V'adarabba. And actually, it makes more sense to say that. The Pashtus, simply, Heichal hanema b'tehillah mal yedei David. When David HaMelech speaks about Tavnis Heichal, David, right? So who sees which base of Mikdash is he speaking about? Who the Mikdash Aleph? He's speaking about the first base of Mikdash, which is Heichal HaNivneh, Al Piyat Tavnis, Hashem, Miyad Hashem, Olai, David Hiskel. This is David HaMelech had the nevuah about the blueprint of the Beis HaMikdash, even though he didn't build the Beis HaMikdash, but he had Miyad Hashem, the blueprint of the Beis HaMikdash, as it says in Divrei Yamim, and therefore, when David HaMelech speaks about the children being like the Beis HaMikdash, Heichal, that would be 30 amas, not 100 amas. So Elamai, the fact that even Rabbi Yehuda says 100 amas, which is the walls, the width and the length of the walls, the reason he's coming to that conclusion is because even according to him, we are comparing to Adam Rishon. We're just using this pasuk to say that it's not twice the height of Adam Rishon, but only once. This pasuk is just a proof for the correct pshat of Kaimimiyas. That's one point. Another point is mipashtus lashon Gemara. When you read the simple understanding of the words of the Gemara, the Braisa there starts off saying va'oilech eschem Kaimimiyas. Rab Meir Aimer Chulu. Rab Meir says 200 amas. Rab Yehuda Aimer Meya Ama. Mashma Rab Yehuda Aimer Meya Ama. It's pretty clear that when Rab Yehuda says 100 amas, who pirish. Even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's coming to be mefarish this pasuk. Even though he brings another pasuk, but he is following what it says in the beginning of the Braisa and Gimel, and then the third point, and this is a very strong raya, But Teres Kainim Mefurish. In Teres Kainim it says this argument as well, and there it says clearly, Rabbi Yehuda Eimer Meya Amma Ke Adam Rishon. Rabbi Yehuda clearly says that Meya Amma is like Adam Rishon. Yeah, so therefore this is the correct shot in the Gemara, that it's 100 amas, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's 100 amas like Adam Rishon. And the Heichal is sort of a side point here to this whole thing. Okay, wait, before you turn the page, got to turn back.
Oh, okay.
We're going to learn the Ha'ara on the Ha'ara. Now, what does it ever coming to answer here? L'taretz ha'pirish shehu kehechel de Beis Hamikdash Hasheni. Now, in order to explain, as I mentioned before, there's a second shot in Rashi, that when it says Tavnis Heichel, it's referring to the second Beis Hamikdash. So the question is, how could he say this? Inside the Ha'ara, the Rebbe explained that because we're talking about David the Melech and Tilim saying this, so then it's speaking about the first Beis Hamikdash, and therefore, if you would just go by that pasuk, the simplest shot would be the height of 30 amas. So why in the second shot, how could Rashi say that it refers to the second Beis Hamikdash? So we can answer and say as follows: Kra the Beyaskina on this pasuk that we're talking about until the Masher B'neinu, that our sons and daughters are going to be like the Heichel. Medaber b'lasad lavei. This is a pasuk that refers to lasad lavei. Ulechein siyum make tavnis Heichel. When it says in the end tavnis Heichel, pirusha igamkein Heichel the Bayis Gimel. It really means that we're going to be as tall as the third Beis Hamikdash. So now, why does Rashi say the second Beis Hamikdash? Because v'hinei goyvay the Heichel zeh, how high the third Beis Hamikdash is going to be. Leinisparish bekroi the Yecheskel. This is the psukim in Yecheskel, which gives us the structure, the measurements of the third Beis Hamikdash. But as far as the height of the third Beis Hamikdash, it doesn't say in Yecheskel. It doesn't say in the psukim clearly the height. This is the Rebbe is quoting it from the Beer Mehagra Yecheskel Mem Yudalid. Now l'cheim estav leima. So therefore, it's logical to say that the height of the third Beis Hamikdash is actually going to be the same height as the second Beis Hamikdash, which is explained in the Mishnah in Midas. Why are we comparing to the second Beis Hamikdash? And here the Rebbe quotes what the Rambam says: "Sha'atayeles sheyesh besipur shaba b'midas Beis Hamikdash Hashem." The Rambam asks the question: why is there a whole Masechta of Mishnah is dedicated to telling us the structure of the second Beis Hamikdash if it's not necessarily relevant to the third Beis Hamikdash? For that, you have the psukim in Yecheskel. And the Rambam answers, right, you follow that blueprint, meaning there's a lot of things that you do not see in the psukim at all. And the only way to know what it is by following the blueprint that it says in the Mishnah is in the second Beis Hamikdash. That's what the Rambam says, with Pirish HaMishnah, Rambam, Bagdamasei, and also the Tosis Yantiv and others. And the Rebbe brings V'chein Mashma Gam Das Rashi, Mizeh Shehetek B'Pirusha, in Yecheskel, Gam Atevis Berum Kuf, that it's going to be the height of 100, even though the pasuk doesn't say it clearly. So therefore, what the Rebbe is saying is that according to the second shot in Rashi, when Rashi speaks about the second Beis Hamikdash, even though he says the second Beis Hamikdash, he really means the third Beis Hamikdash. He's saying the second, because the second is what we know. We know that it was 100. But what David HaMelech is saying in the Nevuah is that L'asad Lavai, our sons and daughters are going to be as tall as 100 amas, like the third Beis Hamikdash. Okay, that's the Pshat in the Sinyan. So just to conclude with what the Gemara actually just found, the context of what the Gemara is speaking about there in Baba Basra, where it brings up the height, L'asad Lavai, the Gemara there is actually speaking about the walls around Yerushalayim. I believe the walls around Yerushalayim. And the Gemara there brings the height of these walls. I think the Gemara says it's going to be 30 amas high. And the Gemara asks, 30 amas high, that's all? It's not tall enough for us to go through, because L'asad Lavai we're going to be either 200 amas tall or 100 amas tall. So how 30 amas is very short. So the Gemara answers that it must mean that the windows are going to be in that height, but the actual entrances, the doors, the gates are going to be 100 or 200 amas tall. Also love it.
The percentage is only 100 tall.
So he's saying, it's a little bit of a problem. He's asking
even
a question.
It's going to be pretty tight.
Especially according to the Meir. If you say L'asad Lavai, it's going to be only 100 amas tall, and we're going to be 200 amas tall. How are we going to be
even 100?
It'd be exactly the height. It's like walking into a 6-foot ceiling in a house. It doesn't work.
There's no roof in the basement.
No, there is.
Sure. Heichel has a roof.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
it's like a Shaila.
Well, L'asad Lavai, it says that. Everybody always said, no,
we have no right to allocate it as a gusma.
What?
We have no right to allocate it as a gusma.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
New suits.
So as long as the Gemara does
new suit, new everything.
But I think that's a very good question.